Hey everyone, I'm Steve from GamersNexus.net. We're at GDC 2016 at NVIDIA's booth, and now we're looking at GeForce Now, which is a game streaming service. And I'm joined by Chad Cooper from NVIDIA to talk about that. He's a build engineer working on GeForce Now. Before we get to this coverage, all of our GDC 2016 coverage is brought to you by Raw Fury's Goner platformer game, which you see on the screen now. Chad, so what's the top-level overview of GeForce Now? We know there was this grid thing before. Is this grid just with a new name, or what's going on?
Yeah, this is the latest version of it. Right now it's available on NVIDIA Shield branded devices. It's currently $7.99 a month. You get access to a huge library of games. And then we also sell titles as well. And what's unique about that is if you buy the title, you can play it immediately. So you don't have to worry about downloading it or driver updates or patches or anything like that. You launch it, it works. And then on the back end, we also email you the license key to the game. So you can download on your PC if you want. So you get both options there.
What about input latency, things like that, with regard to when I'm playing the game, when I'm streaming it, I push a button on the controller, how long does it take to respond on the screen?
Input latency, we try to keep it down to be on console level. And that's been a big challenge at NVIDIA. And what our engineers have done is they put a hardware encoder on the actual GPU. So as soon as those images are loaded up into the frame buffer, they're then compressed and encoded immediately on the GPU in about 2 to 5 milliseconds, depending on the resolution and the frame rate that we're going to be sending through it. And then on the client side, we have that same encoding technology there, and it's decoding it real quick. So that's what makes it extremely snappy. So that's kind of how we solved it.
And how about a millisecond target for input latency specifically?
Target-wise, we try to keep it on par with consoles, just really a low latency target as fast as possible. We've deployed data centers around the globe to also assist with this, and we do work with ISPs to ensure that people get the latency-less experience.
And then server side, so there's as it used to be called grid, but I guess the GeForce Now servers, are those set up in different locations around the country, or how are you setting those up?
Correct. Right now we have them in a few areas around the US, and we also have them around the world as well. So in data centers like Singapore and Tokyo, we also have them there, and in Europe, in Ireland. So it's global right now, and it's available.
Does the server basically do all the graphics processing, all the computing, and then just ship a packaged sort of video to the computer, to the client? Is that how it works?
That's exactly how it works. So what we do is we put our high-end Tesla-grade GPUs in the cloud, and then we create a virtual machine that's dedicated to that end user. They've got dedicated CPU cores, RAM, even provisioned IOPS. So it ensures that they have the best gaming experience possible from the cloud. And then other than that, we only support Shield brand devices because of our decoder. So we cover it from end to end to ensure that you get the best experience possible.
Trade shows, as we know, maybe the viewers don't necessarily know, but trade shows have historically terrible internet. It's really hard to talk outside the show. What do you use here to work with GeForce Now when you're demoing?
Yeah, for this event, what we do is we piggyback off some of the technology that we've been working on the engineering side. So a lot of our engineers and architects have ideas to deploy single rack units in small data centers. So it's a proof of concept. So what we've done is we've taken that concept and we shrunk it down into essentially like a monster gaming PC. And so that's what we brought to the booth. So we have our whole virtual environment, our whole data center, tons of VMs running, all the networking, all the VLANs going all at once, and it's streaming to these end devices. Now for our game saves and our entitlement and all that stuff, it piggybacks off of AWS still. So it goes back to our data centers that we lease out for AWS just for that. And then those user saves come down to this local server, and then you're able to play your game where you left off, even if you logged in with your own account here. So it's kind of neat.
That is cool. What's the GPU setup inside?
The GPU that we have in this config is our M5000. So it's basically a GM204. It's Maxwell class. So it's equivalent to a GTX 980 effectively. So that's what you're getting in this demo to the rig. So it's pretty powerful, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. That you mentioned licensing with AWS for when you communicate to AWS. That's one other question I have. So most of these games now obviously have some sort of DRM or licensing. How do you guys work with that? Do you talk to the publishers, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, we have a great relationship with the publishers. We've had that for years, working with them. And so each publisher, we handle it differently. And so it's really kind of up to them. We are releasing a Grid SDK. a cloud gaming SDK for the developers to use for onboarding games to the cloud to make things easier. And I'll provide you more information. I'll send you a link. So kind of cool.
Cool, so more information linked in the description below if you're curious. We've got an article on this, and then of course there's some pretty big GameWorks news that came out yesterday. We've got a full 2,000 plus word article detailing all of that if you're curious how it works, especially with things like voxel, accelerated ambient occlusion, and all of that. So links in the description below. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time.